Here's a key for question 2 of the choice type questions. It'll be very similar to the ones that you've seen before. First question is just to calculate the internal rate of return. So all you're doing there is finding the interest rate that makes the present worth 0. So what you're doing is basically going negative 23 plus 30 on 1 plus I to the fourth, setting that equal to 0 and solving for I. Because it's one of those ones that has a single cost or benefit in time period n and another one in time period 0, you can use the shortcut you've seen before. In other words, you can just go 30 on 23, raised to the 1/4 power, subtract the 1, and you find it has an internal rate of return of about 6.8%. Question number 2 is, as you've seen before, where you get to calculate the annual worth for each one of these assets. That means you take the present worth, which is already shown for you right here, and then go ahead and spread it out over the life of the asset. So for example, asset A has a life of 4, which you can see right here, and what you do then is go, well, present worth 1.251, and then you use in factor notation the looking for A, given the equal P. The I is just the interest rate that we've been using, 10%, and the N is the life of the asset, 4. So it just means that if you go down asset C, you have to use 3 as the life of the asset, and for asset D, you have to use 1 as the life of the asset. Well, working through the calculations, the first one you see, it's got this negative present worth, probably not the best one. Asset B has a present worth that's about 0.09, so far that's the best. Asset C1 has one that's 0.6, so right now that's the best. Asset D has one that's 1.49, so clearly that's the best annual worth that we have. Now that means that over the life of that asset, every single time period will give us on this time average $1.496 worth of benefit. Well, if you stack those up over a total of 12 years, you're going to find out that that's the best you can do with the choices you have available. So the answer for question number 2 should be D, even though, I got to point out, it's not the one with the highest present worth. And then finally, question 3 simply asks you for the one that provides you with the greatest benefit with no service requirement. That's the present worth criteria. That's where we do pick the one with the highest present worth, which is asset C. As in the previous quiz, the question 4, where we raise the internal rate of return to 20%, doesn't exactly give us very many options. Because all these internal rates of return that we have right here, including A that we just calculated at 6.8%, are all below 20. So actually none of these are acceptable assets at a 20% minimum acceptable rate of return. And that should be a little explanation for question 3 choice number 2 for spring term 2011.